What's going on, everybody? It's Brian Trippe. I'm here in beautiful Birmingham, Alabama. So excited you decided to join us again for another episode of the Alaria Masterclass podcast. We are Alabama's only real estate podcast, and we have an incredible guest via Zoom. I've been using Skype. This is my first time ever using Zoom. Mr. Gary Harper. How's it going today, Gary?
Good, Brian, buddy. Thanks for having me on, man.
Man, I'm super excited to talk to you. I have not talked to anyone really yet on our podcast. This is episode number 74, where we haven't really spoken to anyone who talks about systems and processes specifically. And I really want to talk to you about that. You just got done telling me kind of offline that you're working with the top 10% of all real estate investors in the country. And that's a huge, huge deal. A lot of guys that we've had on the show, you know, like a John Martinez and like some of these guys that we've already had. I know Mike Hambright's going to come on the show here coming up soon. So people that my audience already knows, you're working with them right now. Gary, give people a little bit of background on who you are and what you are actually doing today.
All right, sounds good. Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot. And yeah, the top 10%. I mean, obviously we work with anybody that needs to work on their business or instead of in their business. But you know what, we typically find that the top 10% call us because at the end of the day, I mean, they really truly want to treat it like a business, right? I mean, it's not just a hobby. It's not just a way to generate some cash flow. And go spend, but it's a way to actually treat it like a business, creating a legacy long term, really. So that's why we get calls more from them. Now, my background, first and foremost, I started out at a very young age, actually, in Chicago, in corporate America, and worked my way up. By the age of 22, I was a national manager of business initiatives and development in Chicago, and then worked my way up to an executive level with different Fortune 500 companies, and was able to really learn how to, lead people and what systems and processes look from a big level mentality. And I had a lot of employees and a lot of people and a lot of clients that I had to manage on a daily basis. Obviously, a lot of problems come with that. And having the right systems, the right processes, the right people, the right vision, those kind of things really helped to navigate where I needed to be in my life and how I needed to lead those people. And so we started investing in real estate in 2004, and me and my wife, and got into real estate. I partnered with my brother-in-law, Wayne Schaefer, probably in 1998. He actually was using me more for labor than anything. But I mean, I was a young guy, and he's like, "Hey, let's make this guy carry this crap, instead of paying somebody else to do it, So he took advantage of me then and had me working on these rehabs and I learned a valuable lesson. The Bible says there's profit in all labor, and I learned a lot, through labor, and spent a lot of time with that. And then as that career really just followed suit with my corporate America career, in 2004 I decided, hey, listen, we need to start creating some passive income. So Susan and I jumped out and bought a bunch of rentals. I think it was 14 at the time, and we're cash flowing a little over. At the time, man, it was great to have $150, cash flow. Looking back on it, what was I thinking? If it's anything short of 300, what am I doing? Yeah. But I did. I jumped in and had $150 per house of cash flow, and started a property management company. Me and Wayne started a property management company together back in 2004.
Wow.
Called Calumet North Properties, and that led us over managing over a couple hundred doors. And so it's pretty cool. It's actually still around. My dad retired, and we gave it to my dad as a gift. And now I tell people that, right? But at the end of the day, property management is brain damage, right? And I don't know if it was a curse or a gift, but we gave it to him. So
yeah, it's hard.
It is. It's hard. But, we enjoyed it. And, and then 2008, 2009 came around, those years. And those were lean, hard on investors. And when you're not cash flowing $150 a month, and then the properties go underwater, and then they reassess taxes on us in Northwest Indiana. My mortgages went from $500 a month to $1,500 a month. So I ended up learning a valuable lesson as an investor those years, and it hurt pretty good. But I stuck with it. And in 2011, here's the crazy thing. I'm still working in corporate America full time. 2011 came along, and I got really ill. I got bit by a tick, and came down with Lyme's disease, almost passed away, actually.
I remember you telling me that story, and I'm glad you're bringing it up because I really want you, if you don't mind, because I know it's a sensitive topic, but I think it's obviously made you stronger, made you where you are today. But tell that story, man. You told me that story long ago when we first met a few years back. But tell that story, man.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years to really even talk about it because it was pretty close to home, and vulnerability is you got to put yourself out there to kind of talk about something personal like that. But now I tied in and I have a presentation on parasites in business and what they look like. So I'll have to talk a little bit about that. But Brian, I got bit by a tick, and it bit me right on the back of my neck, my C5, my C6 area, right in my spine. And it was just like the perfect timing or perfect spot really for it to be bit and to get sick quickly, and got in my backbone or my spine and just went rampant really quick. Like within weeks, I was pretty ill.
Wow.
And so it took them about 6 or 7 months to figure it out. And here I am stepping away from my corporate job for a while to try to get better and finding myself dropping down. I think I've dropped down like 140 pounds, somewhere in there. And a good thing that this is like a voice and not a video, right? Because I'm nowhere near 140 pounds anymore. But, that's what happened, man. It took all my weight, took all my energy, took all my, and the worst part about it, man, honestly, the worst part about it was my mind. It dropped me down to a 5-year-old mental state. And I was in pretty bad shape. And, but the Lord had different plans for me. I didn't think I was going to pull out of that. And I did. And I recovered from it. I'm able to help people today. Navigate them through that illness. I just got a call last night from a guy in Houston, and he's sick, and so we try to help him, encourage him. I'm not a doctor or anything, obviously. I don't prescribe anything, but sometimes hope is the best prescription of all, right? So when they get a chance to actually talk to somebody that's pulled through, it gives them hope. For sure. And so after that, I got a chance to, when I recovered from that, and I was still somewhat recovering, but I was getting better. I had a choice, either go back to corporate America or go work with Wayne, my brother-in-law, full time, who had left corporate America and was still in wholesale at the time. And he said a very important statement to me. He says, God didn't just take you out of that, just put you right back in it. This is your opportunity. And so I decided, I'm like, hey, listen, corporate America jobs are always there. This is an opportunity to do something and create some freedom in my life. And so I did. I stepped out and I partnered with my brother-in-law and Wayne. Wayne had another gentleman there, Tom Olson, at the time. And so it was me, Tom, and about 3 other people. And we started working on scaling the business. And he did 48 deals that year without me. And the next couple of years, we scaled significantly. It was almost a 40% growth year over year. And to 2016, we did 300 deals that year.
All wholesale, right?
Yeah. Well, that year is about 76% wholesale. We started dabbling in rent to own and also fix and flip and some turnkey as well. So, there's a splattering of different things we were doing, but our focus was still wholesale, and that was mainly where we wanted to be. So, but a little over over 1,000 deals as a team, and the actual number relates to me right now, but it's a great it was a great model and great couple of guys to work with, and Wayne's my brother-in-law, and he encouraged me to step out over about 2 years ago, and he asked me to he says, man, your passion is helping others, and you've helped us here. Let's see if anybody else needs help. And honestly, man, I think it kind of started with you. Just to be completely honest with you, you came out, you saw us in Northwest Indiana, and you were needing something at the time with the website, and I had the heart to want to help, and I'm like, hey man, let's do some things, let me see if I can help you, and it created this passion of wanting to help other real estate investors. So it's really kind of cool. This kind of comes back full circle for me, because you were the first guy that ever asked for my help in real estate, and then I start going out doing like this and helping the top 10%. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's interesting, because when we first got on the call, I said, man, do you even remember me? So Gary, just kind of going back to the beginning of your story, when you first got started in real estate, you said you mentioned the year 1998.
Yeah.
So I got to say this just because I know where you live and I know where you're from. 1998, I graduated high school at Lowell High School in Northwest Indiana. And that's where And that's where I spent my sophomore, junior, and senior years. I was born up there, and I was born in Crown Point at Crown Point's hospital. So
Yes.
you're right there, like the next town north, and Maryville is where you guys were. And so it's just kind of cool how this, really comes full circle for me. And I'm actually going up there. I know this podcast isn't going to come out for like a month, but as of today, I'm going up there to see my mom still lives up there. She lives in Hebron, and going up to see her tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I'm flying out, and I'm taking my daughter, my little 3-year-old. We're going to go up there, go to a couple Cubs games. And so it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
But anyway.
I live in Crown Point, so that's
okay,
where
yeah. My dad went to Crown Point High School. So,
wow.
yeah. So, our family's up there and or was up there. So my mom still lives up there. So that's really cool, man. So I really want to kind of let's talk about what you just said, though, because I want to tell the story just briefly and kind of let you kind of chime in on how you really got started with what you're doing. So I met Gary in the summer of 2014. I launched my wholesale company in April 2014. I think I went up there in maybe June or July. Another guy who was local to Birmingham took me up there, and just to he's like, look, we need to check out this operation that's going on in Northwest Indiana, kind of Chicagoland area, and see how they're doing things on a wholesale level, because you guys you just mentioned all the deals you were doing, but you guys were doing wholesale deals, not just there in that local spot. You were covering, if I remember correctly, the entire state of Indiana, which is long, the entire state of Illinois, which is big and long as well. So you're talking about 4-hour drives, as many as 4-hour drives away from where your home base is. The entire state of Michigan. I think at the time you were trying to get into Ohio. You had like a really big operation, and I do want to talk about that and kind of your role in playing in that. But I went up there because the whole goal was to try to get me to kind of run a wholesale division of one of the guys that are up here. And I was kind of new to wholesaling, kind of done my own deals. It was really interesting to see how you guys built that. And I really want to kind of spend some time talking about how you specifically, Gary, were able to kind of build that virtually. Take me through the beginning with you and Wayne up there in Northwest Indiana. Take me from the beginning of where you're maybe wholesaling some stuff that's probably right there in the specific local area to actually branching out to go hours and hours away from where you actually are to do deals. How did that even begin?
So Wayne actually was with another local wholesaler, before 2010, and I think it's really how he learned how to wholesale, and so when he decided to part ways with him, he wanted to have ethics and be responsible to this gentleman. So he decided it was more of a nature of being forced, not be able to do anything locally, and so Wayne went an hour or so south and started wholesaling in Indianapolis, where this gentleman wasn't at, just out of respect for him, and their handshake and their agreement. And so we were kind of just forced to start outward instead of right in our backyard.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how it all started. We actually didn't start wholesaling in our backyard until their agreement was, satisfied. And so we had to wait a couple of years actually before, and there obviously there probably was nothing that would have stopped that, right? I mean, if Wayne wanted to do it in the backyard, but it's just a integrity play.
Sure.
He said, I'm not going to, so
Totally.
he didn't, right? And so it was big, and but I think it was probably one of the best things for the operation, because it forced us to be more creative. It forced us to create systems and processes that allowed us to do it without being in right there. And so same thing in Michigan. When we went to Michigan, I was sick. I was still recovering. And it's like, I don't have the strength to drive 6 hours a day, and go look at a deal and come back and multiple times a week. I didn't have that. So it's like you get situations that force you to be creative, and that's exactly what happened. So we actually started outward first and worked our way back towards our hometown.
So, yeah, it's interesting you use those words. It forced you to be creative, forced you to kind of learn systems that you could put into place that you could do almost virtual, so to speak, wholesaling, really before I ever heard the term kind of coined. What specifically, and probably you can still talk to this because I'm sure the operation's still going on today, right? You're just not doing the day-to-day. So
right.
What specifically, if you could give maybe a how-to, 1 or 2 kind of practical things that people could do if they did want to maybe start 3 or 4 or 5 hour drive, take us through what that even looks like. What do you need to have in place to make that happen?
It's resources. I mean, it is systems and processes, but you got to have connections. So I tell people that there was multiple reasons we fail to scale, right? And one is fear. I mean, it's just, that's number one. We have to get out of our own head sometimes. We have to look past the fear. And number two is, the wrong mindset. Really, sometimes we just have the wrong mindset. And, that being forced to think outside the box changes the mindset. So you have to start to think, hey, it's not how I can't do it. It's how can I do it, right? And so what's that mindset? And number three is the right connections, right? Lack of connections sometimes is one thing that holds us back from really going to the next level. And then the very last thing, number four, is systems and processes. You got to have the right systems. You got to have the right process, which includes people and vision and all those things. But let's step one back, and that's connections. And so when you're remote, I mean, the biggest thing for me was like, if I can't be there, somebody's got to be. Somebody's got to do this work. And so, in wholesaling, there's always, depending on who you talk to, and this is probably a little less today than it was years ago, but years ago it was like, oh, I don't want to work with a realtor. And I was like, heck no, man, I'm working with a realtor. Like, I'm figuring this out. They're going to become my best friends. And so, they know their market. They know, they know the area. And so what did I do? I developed relationships with realtors, and I got really, really good with those. And I paid them. So many people want to circumvent and get somebody to do something, not pay them. I paid them. I paid them $100 to do a BPO for me. I paid them money to go in and Skype the house for me. And so I could see the property, because I'm not there. And they know their area. They know contractors. They bring in somebody, give me an SOW or statement of work. They give me a BPO, broker price and opinion of what it would be like, worth all fixed up. And then also they'd be like, hey, listen, Gary, don't over repair this area. Like, this is all you have to do. Or hey, if you added another bedroom here, we could do a price lift on the house and go up some ARVs, So it's like all the ideas were there. People are smart, and they were hungry and they wanted to sell the houses. So like, I partnered with them, and that was probably the best thing for me, was having a realtor local that could help us,
For sure.
And so once you have that, that's the funnel. I mean, you got to look at it like a funnel. I look at it like, in Six Sigma, which is my background, I call it SIPOC. So you got to find the supply, and then you have the input of that supply into the process, which is the P, and the output of it back to the customer, right? And so find the supply. Well, the input is that realtor, right? It helps bring in the information now to put it in the process to buy it. And then the output of it, is the marketing for the, to your buyers list, or to the people, that are looking to buy. And then that customer actually, closing on the deal. So, that was upstream. So I got I have a realtor, and they're working for me and hard, on the deals, bringing me deals and Skyping with me and doing all that, sending me VPOs and pictures. And then, having a local brick and mortar title company, that
right, local to that area.
Yeah, why? Because they don't know me. I'm not in their area, and somebody's wanting to buy a house from you or sell you a house. They want to walk into a building, brick and mortar building, where you shake somebody's hand. Totally. So I didn't have the energy to go up every week, but I had the energy to go up and meet a couple people, develop some relationships, get them to know me and trust me, and then do what I say I was going to do. Right? Totally. It's integrity, right? So you got to do what you say you're going to do. Yep. And so when people either selling us houses or buying houses from us, they have the comfort of knowing I can walk into this, title company and know that somebody's there working on my behalf, right?
Totally.
And that's the best thing about a title company. They're not just going to work on my behalf; they're going to work on that buyer or seller's behalf too, and they're there to protect both of us. Gotcha. Yeah. And so sure. That was the key there, is making sure that we had those relationships set up. And then from there, it's easy, right? Now you just gotta, we close on everything, right? And then, our wholesale was a little different, where we close on it and then we would sell it again. But where most people do assignments, or we didn't do that. But, that was the key. Our key was actually doing what we say we're going to do, and if we liked the house, we bought it,
So when I went up there to see you guys in summer of 2014, it was a big operation. Yeah. There was the upstairs was, some offices, the downstairs, there was or on the main floor, maybe there's like a 3-level house when I was there. Like the main level, there was like, I can't remember her name, but there was a lady there. I guess it was just like the closing coordinator or something like that, where she was just had this spreadsheet that was just like, this color means this color means it's in this phase, this one. And then there were like this kind of like the meeting area, the sales area. And then the downstairs was like the marketing area. And there's like 5-6 people down there and like plotting out different spots on these maps. Obviously you can't scale like that overnight. How do you, just kind of the very beginning, talk to the, maybe you're alone, you're by yourself, you're the only one in your business. Maybe you have a partner, maybe it's 2 people. Just talk about scaling, period. How do you get to that first hire? How do you know when to make that first hire, make that second hire? What should those positions even be in the beginning? And talking specifically about a wholesale business.
No, I think that's really smart. That's a great question, Brian, because that's where a lot of guys are. And I just spent the last couple of days on a mastermind where teaching just that, right? Like, because everybody wants, and if you're interested in this business, you got to treat it like a business. All right. You can't treat it like a hobby.
Totally.
And if you're going to grow and add more people, then you got to treat it like a business. And the first thing I'll tell you, and this is what I said the other day, first and foremost, you got to work on you first. Okay. You have really no right to lead other people if you're not leading yourself properly, right? Wow. And so I would say right there is where you got to start. You got to check yourself. You got to make sure you have a purpose, you have a why, you have a cause that's greater than money, because people don't want to follow somebody just to make you rich. Okay, they want to be behind a purpose. A leader finds a purpose, and then people find a leader with a purpose. Okay. So you got to
so talk about get in a little more depth about that, because we're in business to make money, right?
Yep.
So talk about how you can find that balance as a leader.
Well, okay. So obviously everybody expects you to make money. You wouldn't be doing this if you weren't trying to make some money. So I don't want anybody like turning the podcast off because this guy doesn't want to make money. No, I do. I'm all about that. But at the end of the day, you're building a business for 2 reasons. You're either building it to sell it, or you're building it to build a legacy, right? And if you're going to build it for longevity, for legacy, it's got to have a purpose. It's got to have a cause, a passion. The biggest companies out there, have a purpose. And sometimes that purpose is like others driven. Okay. Like you're wanting to leave a legacy and help other people and live a life of significance, or you're wanting to give money to a charitable organization, or you want to help MS or Lyme or whatever those whys are. You have to have something, right? And but I know guys, and I know Fortune 500 companies that their purpose is to drive. Coca-Cola is, to put a Coke within every reach of every human on the United States. That's their purpose, right? Nike's whole purpose was to crush Adidas, that was their purpose. And so who do they attract? They attract people that have drive, some people that want to like really go after it, and they're going to have that as part of their culture. Your purpose, your why actually helps create that culture in your business. You have to have the right type of purpose that excites you, because now it's going to attract people that are like you, right? And then along with that, then your core values coupled with your purpose, really, really develop that right culture in your business. So you have to start internally first, right? You got to start with you first. And then once you have that, and you have that right after your grasp, now you can start to bring people on that align with your goals, align with your core values, align with your purpose. And that's what I want anyway, right, Brian? I don't want a bunch of people on a journey with me that don't want to go where I want to go.
100%.
So, honestly, at the end of the day, it's like making sure we have that right drive, that right purpose. And it can be, it can be about crushing Adidas. It can be about, putting a pop within the reach of every human being in the United States, right? Whatever it is for you. But it's got to be for you. It's got to be about it for you.
Totally.
So,
you just said the word pop.
Yeah.
That takes me way. I've been in the South. I graduated high school in 1998. It's literally been 20 years since I moved to Alabama. And I just haven't heard that in a long time. When I first moved down here, they call it Coke.
Yeah.
Everything's a Coke. So I go through the drive-through. This is no joke. Right when I moved down here, I go through the drive-through at McDonald's, and they say, "Well, would you like to drink with that?" And I said, "A Coke." And they said, "Okay, what kind?" That's what they said to me. I'm like, "A Coke. I want a Coke. That's what I want." Like everything's a Coke.
Well, you just confirmed to me that I've been northernized. So, I grew up in West Virginia. We used to call it, a pot or soda or
Right.
Coke. And then, so now it's a pop. So
Yeah, it's a
I think it's
pop.
official. I'm
Everything
no
is,
longer a Southerner, man.
yeah. Well, probably in the deep South, we would probably question if West Virginia was the South anyway.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's
So
true.
I didn't mean to get off topic there. I just thought I heard pop and I was like, wow, that takes me way back. I'm going to hear it a bunch and when I go this weekend. And sweet tea is a big thing. If you order a tea up there, they're going to bring you an unsweet iced tea every single time. And if
Yeah.
they don't have sweet tea, they'll bring you sugar packets.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, that's good.
McDonald's, and I think since Chick-fil-A's come in, they've started indoctrinating them up there now with
There you
sweet
go.
tea. So, and everybody thinks it's like this new creation. I'm like, for real? Like, it's been around since like 1900, but
Right. Seriously.
you just didn't know about it.
Totally. All right, let's get back to the serious stuff for a second. So, okay. So step one, Gary, is to work on me. If I'm the leader of my business. I want to work on me. I want to make sure I have a vision. I want to make sure I have a purpose that's bigger than myself. I want to make sure I have, what did you call it? Core values. I want to make sure that I have actual values. And then say we're getting some revenue coming in, doing a couple of wholesale deals. How do I know when to make that first hire? And then once I feel like I'm there, how do I actually go about hiring that person?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, the first thing is you got to determine your capacity. Like how many hours in a day do you want to work? Is that 10? Is that 12? Is that 16? What is that for you? Right. And then, I mean, what is that max? Okay. And so whatever that is for you, then you gotta ask this question, if everything I do, everything I write down that I do every day, does it fit? Does it fit in my 100% or my, how many hours in a day I want to work? One of my core values is hard work. So when I hire somebody, I always tell them, hey, I only want half a day's worth of work out of you, right? Just 12 hours. That's all I want. So, so, I mean, that's who I am. I want to work hard. I want people around me who want to work hard too. So my max is 100%. My 100% is 12 hours. And so, if yours is 8, then you just ask the question, does it fit? Does everything you do fit? And if the answer is no, you got to hire. Okay. And so what I do from there is I typically take I take, this is straight out of the book EOS with Gino Wickman or Traction, but he'll talk about, and then also let's see, forgot the other gentleman's name, but basically what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to create some quadrants that put my task in that I do every day. So things I like, some things I love, things I don't like, right? Those quadrants. And then from there, also what I'm good at and what I'm not good at and what I'm great at. Okay. And so I'll break those tasks up into those different quadrants. Okay. And everything I'm not good at or I don't like to do, I'm getting rid of. That's where I'm creating my first job description from.
So talk about this. So, finish what you just said. You're creating your first job description. How important is it to have a job description before you even think about hiring someone?
No, it is. I mean, because you can't, how are you going to tell them what to do? I mean, you got to have some plan to bring them on board. So, and then everybody's like, well, how do I create a job? Well, it's real easy. Write down everything you do every day and then start putting them in those quadrants of what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Right.
Wow.
And then everything you're not good at and you don't like, get rid of it.
Yep.
Create a job description, literally bold-type description of all the tasks that you don't want to do. Because there's somebody out there, Brian, that likes to do it, right? There's somebody out there that's good at it. And the things you're not good at, the things you don't like to do, you shouldn't be doing them anyway.
Totally.
So, like, those are the areas I want to get rid of first and foremost. And then here's the last question I ask. Even if I'm good at it or I like to do it, I might put a check mark next to everything that gives me energy and an X next to everything that doesn't, right? And the X's now make their way down into that category down on the job descriptions too, right? So the first thing is everything I don't like or I'm not good at. That's going to be the first job description. And now if I really want to get rid of some things that are maybe robbing me of my energy, now I'm going to put a check mark next to everything that gives me energy and an X next to everything that doesn't. And those things that don't give me energy, they don't need to be in my wheelhouse either, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to create that job description. And then I'm going to start marketing for it. I'm going to start trying to look to bring people on. And now when they come in an interview, I go, hey, Brian, here's why I have you here today. Our purpose, our cause, our passion is to give X amount or to do this in the world, right? And you go, hey, can you get behind that? And you're like, man, I love that idea. I want to be a part of that. I'm like, all right. Now, hey, Brian, let me ask you a question about your value system, right? Tell me a little bit about your belief in things and belief in yourself, right? Because that's one of my core values, belief. Or, hey, tell me a little bit about integrity. Tell me a time that you had integrity showed up in your life, right? And then I'm starting to ask questions like that. Another one of my core values is giving. So it's like, hey, tell me the type of person you are. Are you a generous person? Are you a giver? Are you a taker? Are you a matcher? Like Simon Sinek would put, and I would look at those things. And now if I have the right person, then I got somebody that's aligning with my mission, right? If I have the right person, I got somebody aligning with my core values. Now it's like, are they the right person, but are they going to be the right fit for the seat that I need? Now I'm going to pull out that job description. I'm going to be like, all right, do you want to do this? Mm-hmm. Do you understand how to do it? Do you have any experience with it? And then the last thing that comes at, do you have the mental capacity? Do you have the personality traits to actually do the job? I mean, just because you want to do it doesn't mean you can physically do it, right? Totally. So I use a system called Culture Index. I know a lot of people use DISC and a lot of people use like Kobe testing, but I use a system called Culture Index. It's highly accurate. It's over 90% accurate. And so I use that when hiring somebody, and then it tells me like what kind of drive and problem solving skills they have, what kind of people skills they have, what kind of pace they move at, right? And then also what kind of process and procedural driven are they. It also tells me their mental energy units, like how long they can go without tiring mentally. It tells me like how they make their decisions. Do they make it on logic or more on emotion? It also tells me how innovative they are, like how creative they are. So those are things that are really key to me, because when I'm looking at that position, I'm gonna determine before I hire somebody, bring them on board. I'm gonna look at it and go, all right, so this job needs, if it's sales or acquisitions, as you will, where we're buying a house, I need somebody with high drive, right? I also need somebody that doesn't have real high people skills. Here's why. And everybody's eyebrows always go up. Are you kidding me? No, I don't, right? I don't want somebody talking too long, sitting on the couch, right? To a degree. I want them to get friendly with people. I want the people to like them, but I also don't want them overpaying, right? And so, it is about the relationship, but it's also about, like, if they get wrapped up in the story of the hardship, they might end up paying too much for the property. So, I mean, people don't look at it like that, but seriously, I want an outgoing person. I want a nice person. I want somebody who's going to build rapport with the seller. Get all that. Everybody on the call is like, it's about the relationship. It is about the relationship. But you can't get so wrapped up in the relationship that you pay $10,000 more for the house either. I mean, because that's where we make our money, is when we buy. So I need a balance there, right? I need somebody that's going to drive, care, but not care so much that they, they're paying too much. And then the next thing is I need somebody with quick pace. I need somebody that can multitask, really push hard. And to be completely honest with you, if you're in acquisitions, I don't really care about your attention to detail in regards to processes. I want you getting the contract signed and moving on to the next deal, and let the transaction coordinator, the CTC, or whatever you call it in your business, I want them focusing on crossing T's and dotting I's, right? Gotcha. So those are, and then also, I want somebody that can be somewhat creative at times, because there's times it's like, hey, the no is there in front of us, but can we have some creative buying options now that we can present this person with, right? Sure. So that's like the ideal acquisitions person for me.
Totally.
And the higher the D, the higher in DISC, or the higher the A in Culture Index, the higher the drive. Boy, that's even better, right? Because they want to hear no. Mm-hmm. They want to hear it 7 times. Mm-hmm. And somebody that has a lower D or lower A in Culture Index, they're going to hear no 1 or 2 times, and they're going to walk. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, totally. So those are the people I'm looking for. And now, right, so now I got this person that's on board with my vision. I got this guy that's dialed in with my core values. I got this guy who knows the job description, wants to do the job description, just done something similar before. And now, man, they actually have the traits to do it.
Yeah.
This is the right person, right? Now I'm excited. Like, wow, this guy's going to be a great addition to my team.
Yeah.
Now, as a young entrepreneur, if you are doing this by yourself today and it's just you, so many people are like, I got to get an admin and I got to get this person. I got to get that. And I say fooey on that, man. Like, you need to bring people in that support revenue, right? You need to bring people in that are going to start putting money in the company.
Wow.
You can't afford to be hiring people that just are a drain on the business right away. You need to start hiring people that are going to set you apart and actually help bring more capital into the business, right? Because small businesses can't afford to take on a negative impact to the business. They got to take on something that's actually creating more opportunity for the business. So
that's huge, man. That's absolutely, because I had a couple other questions, and that's one of the, I was going to present you. First of all, Gary, thank you for obviously what you just said, but specifically thank you for providing a good example of what, how to hire this specific position. That was really great. Thank you so much for doing that.
Absolutely.
I've got two different scenarios that I want to kind of talk about. And we'll talk about the first one because you just talked about that guy. There's the one guy that's out there that's by himself, maybe has a partner, and money is like this, right? In wholesaling or in real estate in general, unless you have cash flowing properties, your money is probably inconsistent in the beginning.
So for everybody on the call, you did this. You meant it's going up and down, right?
So, hey, that's a good. I'm glad you did that, because so I know you mentioned it earlier. We use video and audio. Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
So for the people watching the video, they got what I did. I'm talking about up and down. It's a roller coaster. Okay, thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So when you're in the beginning, it is a roller coaster with revenue. Revenue's coming in, you do a deal, and then maybe you might flatline for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then you do another deal, and maybe it's a small deal, maybe it's a really big deal, right? It's inconsistent revenue probably in the beginning when you're by yourself. Talk to that person for a second who's ready for some help. I'm ready for some help. You said don't get an admin.
Right.
If I'm ready for some help, I want to hire who? An acquisitions person to help me get more contracts, a sales guy. What position am I trying to hire?
All right. So when people say get an admin right away, I always ask, well, how much longer do you want to live in the business?
Wow.
Because all you're doing is positioning yourself to be in the business longer, right? And so I'm not opposed to admin. I mean, maybe you are the best sales guy, acquisitions guy, and you need to stay in that seat, right? If your profile tells me that you are that guy and you want to stay in that seat and you love the deal and it's where you want to live, then get an admin, right? I mean, I'm fine with that. But if you're not, and the majority of us got into this for what reason? To create freedom in our life, right? So that we could be home with our kids and build a business. Now, if you're that guy, then I don't want you living in the seat of acquisitions or dispositions for very long. So those are the seats you need to replace yourself in, right? Mm-hmm. You need to pull yourself out of those seats, get somebody else. And a lot of times I was helping a guy down in Houston. He's like, I'm the best buyer ever. And I looked at his profile and I'm like, no, you're not. I mean, he's the owner of the company. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, the first thing you need to do is just him. By the way, it was just him and his assistant. And I said, you need to find another acquisitions guy. Mm. Your D is not big enough. Like, you need to go bigger, right? And he did. And he blew it up. I mean, he is killing it right now. And in a very tough market, mind you. I mean, Houston's not a sneeze of a market, right? I mean, it's a tough market. And this guy's killing it right now and that all started with me just telling him he's the wrong guy to sit in the acquisition seat. And he thought he was the right guy, And so, like, that's what I would say is, like, if you're inconsistent with your flow of your deals, then you got to first ask the question, like, and put your ego aside. Ask the question, like, am I the right guy?
Wow.
I mean, because honestly, if you're having deal flow problems, I'm going to ask that question right away. Like, are you the right guy to be sitting in that seat?
Yeah,
like, man. Why don't you have a deal every day? Right?
Gary, so before I talk about the second person, you've mentioned it, like personality tests. Yeah. Obviously, you're a big believer in this stuff.
I am a huge believer in it. Now, I mean, DISC is not as accurate as culture, and I think culture is. I think that's why I want to use, because it gives me the best. But here's the thing, right? Like, something's better than nothing. I don't care. Use something, right? Don't, and the best thing's not your intuition, right? And it's not your gut. It's not the way you feel. Here's the thing. The number one person that gets hired, especially by solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, is the guy with a high B, the guy with a high I and this. This guy that's a really outgoing guy. And we confuse that. Like, that guy's got drive. No, he just likes people. He likes to run his mouth and talk too much. So, like, he's me, by the way. You know, I mean, like, that's who I am. I've got a high people skill. And I'm a disruption in my business. You know, I walk around and talk to everybody all day long. And that's not always a good thing, right? Yeah. I mean, that's good for, like, life of the party. That's good for, like, you know, bringing camaraderie together and inspiring people. But it's not always the best thing from a sales perspective. It's definitely not the best thing from an office perspective where everybody's got their head down trying to work, right? You don't want all those disruptions. So, like, those are the people that get hired, like, right away, like a snap of a finger, because they come in, they're like, hey, man, I really like that guy. Well, yeah, of course you like him. That's what his trade is. His whole thing is to get you to like him. So, like, the people that, like, put their head down and work hard, they don't get jobs because they come in, they're timid and they're reserved. And those are the people I need in my office, right? Yep. I mean, I want the people that can put their head down and just work, you know? And in sales, I want that high drive. I want that ego. I want the ego, right? I want the guy that wants to hear no 7 times, right? And so in finance, I don't want somebody that has ego, though. I want somebody that's high process, you know? They're going to make – I mean, I don't need to be worried if my books are right, you know? I need to make sure that the I's are crossed, or the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, right? So it's so important that you understand the personality traits for each one of the seats you have in your company. Because if you don't, then you're going to be in a bad way if you hire a bunch of high B's or high I's and discs, and they come on board, and now you got a bunch of people sitting at the water cooler talking to each other all day.
Totally.
Yeah. And, I mean, we're going to have a good time. Right? We're going to enjoy it. We ain't going to make any money, but we're going to have a good time with it. So that's why it's important. So, you know, we got to make sure we're hiring the right people, and those tests give us that ability.
That's awesome, man. That's great stuff. So you got the guy that's inconsistent with the revenue in the beginning. You say it really kind of – actually, this kind of answers both questions. It really just depends on you, which is step one, look inwardly. And I feel like I or you, the business owner, needs to do a personality test. Figure out where I feel like I'm best at. Like, I feel like I am best out in the field, right, talking to sellers. But, you know, unless I actually do a test, and maybe I don't know if I am.
Yeah. And you know what we don't know is what we don't know. And sometimes it's like, well, I'm good at dealing deals, just like the guy in Houston. But it's not a matter of, like, can you do it? It's, are you the best person to do it?
Right.
Because if your market, you know, maybe your market's hotter than you think it is. Maybe you're the problem. Right? And maybe the right guy coming in is actually going to kill it for you. Mm-hmm. And you've been leaving deals on the table because you're not the right guy to close the deal. Mm. Right? And so that's what I told the guy in Houston, and that's why he's killing it.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm talking about, guys, out of all the places in the United States, Houston is a tough market. Right? I mean, Dallas is right up there. Houston is definitely up there. I know guys in Houston spending $50,000 a month in marketing. A month, right? And it's like, hey, before you start ramping up the dollars on marketing, like, make sure you're the right guy doing the deals, right? Like, let's get the right personality in the place to do the deals so that we're maximizing the money that we're throwing out there on the street.
Yeah.
So that's why I always tell people when they first start. Now, you asked me a question about, like, if I'm talking to that guy on the street or that guy that's getting started. Like, so the first thing is, like, inward, right? We got to work on us. Second thing is we got to make sure we have the right people. But a part of having the right people is we also have to make sure our systems our processes are documented. Because you can have the right people, right? Is that your next question?
No, I was just going to highlight a word you said. You said systems and processes is fine. And I think that word gets thrown out a lot, especially in light of the E-Myth that came out with Michael Gerber. Work on your business, don't work in your business. What does that truly mean? You said systems and processes documented.
Right.
Why document it, and why is that so important?
Well, I mean, if I hire somebody, it'd be really hard for me to train people. First thing is for training. It'd be really hard for me to train people if it's just in my head, because I'm going to be inconsistent with the information that comes out of my head, right? And so, and without fail, when I help people document the processes, I'll start, like, walking them step by step through it, and they'll miss 5 steps right off the bat, man. They go from, like, got the lead to, like, I'm at the buyer's house already, and I'm like, wait, there's so much you just missed. Like, what do you do with the lead as soon as it comes in? Well, we go to the buyer's house. No, you don't. You don't go to the buyer's house. The first thing you do is you put it in a CRM, right? Don't you put it? And if they don't, I'm like, wow, we got a problem there. So we got to work on the process. So like I have to take people systematically through each high level step to make sure we pull it out of their head and put it on paper for two reasons, Brian. One is to train properly. Okay.
So before you go to that second one, I just want to kind of really highlight that, man. So, and man, first of all, you're talking to me, dude. This is like Brian Trippe 101 right here. So hopefully everyone else is getting a lot of stuff out of this. One of the most frustrating things for me is training people. And that's because I've been better at this lately. We're going to talk about the book Traction a little bit more here in a second. When I went through that, I went through an EOS implementer a little bit. I kind of got a taste of it, and I'm going to talk about that in a second with you, where I started to actually go through that stuff about 8, probably 6 months ago. And training was the most frustrating thing to me because it's like, I'm trying to work. They keep asking me questions. I want to answer their questions, make sure they understand, but it's like they keep asking me questions. And all of a sudden I kind of realize it's not their fault. It's my fault. It's 100% my fault that they don't know exactly what to do because I don't have it documented. I don't have the training processes documented.
Right. Well, the first question is, you the right one to train them? I mean, if you have no attention to detail, then you're never going to train them properly anyway. You're going to leave too many holes in the training.
But whether I am or not, if it's not documented, no one can train them properly, right? This all starts there.
Yeah, I mean, Gino Wickman says, you can't get your company to the next level by keeping your processes in your head and winging it as you go, right? Totally. So it's not going to happen in the book Traction. So we got to get the processes out of our head. We got to get them on paper. And so I use a system called process mapping to do that, right? And so Lucidchart is an online web-based form that I use, and I go through and
what's it called, Gary? I'm sorry.
Lucidchart.
Okay.
LUCID chart, right? Gotcha. And so that allows me to actually like process map and document each high level step in the process, right? And so that's important to me. Now, I would recommend this. I would recommend that you get somebody. I don't care who it is. It can be me. I mean, it doesn't have to be me. It can be anybody you want. But somebody that pulls the process out of your head. Mm-hmm. And somebody that knows real estate enough to pull it out for two reasons. One is because if you try to do it yourself, you're going to miss so many steps, okay? And somebody's like, oh, so what do I do next? What do I do next? Well, that's going to force you to, like, break it down, right? And then number two is somebody that actually knows real estate. Now they're going to be like me. Now I'm going to ask Brian, like, what about this, bro? Like, do you do this? And you're like, no. I'm like, well, why not? Why don't you do that? And then we need to discuss it and to find out, like, should you be doing it? Is that something we need to add to the step? Mm-hmm. And so somebody that understands real estate and then somebody that can systematically pull it out of your head and even maybe process map it for you. If you're the wrong person to be process mapping or pulling it out of your own head, then you shouldn't try, right? I mean, you shouldn't. If you have a low attention to detail, then you're going to get really frustrated. Somebody like me can keep you entertained enough and keep you focused enough to get it out, right? And here's the cool part. Now you have the process map and you want to train somebody else. Now what I do, here's the best thing for you, Brian. Take and record your screen. Record yourself teaching, right? And what I do is I click on the process map on each box. I click on it, and then I train about that box. Now, why am I doing that? Because I'm indexing my video. So I click on this one step, and then I train on it. If they want to go back and really learn something that they maybe forgot, all they got to do is scroll through the video until they get to that step that's highlighted, and that it's indexed for them, right?
Perfect, yep.
So that's what I do. That's how I train. The next thing I do is I take that same video, and I send it to rev.com, rev.com.
I use it all the time.
Grab it, bro. I mean, it's like done for you, right? For $1 a minute.
$1 a minute, yep.
It's crazy, right? I use that for content creation. I use it for a lot of things, but I use it for training. So now they got a video and they got a written document. Here's the other cool thing I do. As I'm like clicking on the process, I'm training on the video and all that. I bought this program called Step Shots. Okay,
Step Shots.
Yeah, STEP Shots. And how that works is every time you click, it does a screenshot, right, of every time you click of your screen. So then it creates this PDF of all these screenshots where you can now take rev.com and you can copy the words that you were saying and drop them into next to the screenshots, and you have an SOP.
SOP is
standard operating procedure guide. I mean, you have a legit, standard operating procedure guide, step by step with screenshots, and you got a video. I mean, now you just give it to them. Like, and if they got problems, if they keep asking questions at that point, Brian, then you didn't profile test them because they're the wrong people, right? So, I mean, all these tools come together and start to work together at this point. And I call those steps, I call it letting go without losing control. Right? Because you're teaching them the way it's supposed to be done. You've got the process documented the way you should have it documented.
Yep.
And then you let go, right? Yep. And you let them fail forward. Yep. The biggest thing as entrepreneurs is, man, we gave ourselves grace to fail when we were figuring it out. But we don't give anybody else that same grace. And what I'll tell you is, like, people learn from failing.
Yep.
So it's got to be controlled failing, right? You don't want them screwing up something that's going to cost you $20,000 though. So you ready for my next hack? You ready for this?
Yep. Yes, sir.
So now you have all that. I want you to create 3 categories on a piece of paper. And here's how we control their fail rate, okay? You're going to write down everything you want them to do and don't ever tell you about in one column, okay? So I'm going to be like, Brian, everything on this list right here I want you to do, don't ever tell me about. Go order toilet paper. Go do whatever, right? Just do it. Don't tell me about it. The next column is, here's everything I want you to do, and then I want you to tell me how you did it. Okay? So go do it, fail forward, screw up, and then tell me how you do it. And if you screwed up, we'll fix it. Right? And that's that controlled failing, so that you're not letting them fail in a big area of the business. You're just letting them fail in little areas so that they learn from it. The next category, so now you're on the third category. Your third category is now don't do it till we talk about it first. Right? And over time and through training and trust, guess what starts to happen? That third column, that don't do it until we talk about it first, it starts to move into do it, then tell me about it. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately you're like, hey, I trust you, man. Just do this thing, just get it done. And there may be a couple things left in the other categories, like, hey, if we get some type of letter or something, that affects the business in a big way, obviously I want to know about it before you deal with it. But those columns, man, get really small at that point. And the one that's really big is just do it. And that empowers people.
Yes.
And you have to make the decision as a leader, and that's why I tell you work on you first. Do you want to be a dictator or a leader? Now, I'll tell you, Brian, they're both effective ways to lead. Dictatorship is still effective, right?
Yep.
But it dies when the dictator dies.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Wow.
So if you ever want to leave your business, and you want it to continue on and support you, and you want to work on it and instead of in it, then you got to lead, and you got to be a leader. See, dictatorship's effective, but it's not scalable. Leadership is scalable. And that's actually the first chapter of my book coming out called Cut the Strings. I don't know if I told you that, but I got a book coming out.
When's it coming out, man?
Yeah, it's coming out in the next couple months. It's Cut the Strings.
Brother, I need a copy, man.
Yeah, everything I'm teaching you, man, is like the first 5 chapters. So.
Brother, this is incredible stuff, man. So before we go, though, Gary, I do want to ask you this: at what point would someone? Because you said in the beginning you're working with the top 10% of real estate investors.
Yeah,
I think in the beginning, once you start doing deals and once you start getting some revenue coming in, you need to start, kind of outlining your processes right away, right? You should start, documenting what you're doing immediately. But say someone wants to use someone like you, in Harper Business Solutions, in the business you created. Who are you for? Describe the real estate investor that might be listening to this podcast, because you're not necessarily for the guy who's brand new. You're not necessarily for the guy that's only, got inconsistent deal flow. Who can benefit from a service like yours?
So actually, that's not true. So the couple products. First product is for the guy, that top 10% or the guy that's killing it, right? The guy wants to really just, I have 3 avatars that I work with. One is a guy trying to survive, right? Working paycheck to paycheck. He's just trying to figure it out and take his business to the next level. He's done a couple deals or 5 deals, whatever, and he's trying to really get those systems out of his head and do what I'm teaching you to do today, okay? But the guy that's trying to thrive, the next guy, he's already got all that. He's already hired 5, 10 people. And he's just trying to get out of his own way. right? He's trying to delegate. He's trying to allow people to take over for him, and he's trying to move on. He's trying to work more on the business than in the business, right? And then you got the third guy who's trying to matter. He wants to leave a legacy. He wants to transition to his kids. He wants to make sure the handoff's good, right? So those are the three people I work with. So the first one being the guy's trying to survive. I have a thing called the Sharper Leadership Circle, okay? And the Sharper Leadership Circle is for the solopreneur, the entrepreneur who's trying to learn how to document the processes, trying to learn everything we've been teaching you today, okay? And those guys come together. They don't have an advisory team. They don't have a leadership team that they can run their ideas by and solve issues with every day. And so those guys come together, and it's like a mastermind, but it's not. We don't so much talk about the deal, although it's real estate, so we do end up talking about deals. But we're more or less talking about structure, everything we talked about today, right? The people, the processes, how to hire, how to get rid of, how to lessen the load on you, how to work on you, and many more things. I mean, much more than just that, right? What KPIs to track and just all that stuff. And we go into pretty good detail on all this. And those people meet every quarter, and they come together and I teach them the systems and the processes. And then we help them set their goals for 90 days, or as EOS calls it, rocks, because you're going to talk about that book. Yep. And every 90 days we come back, we become their board of advisors as a group together. And we hold them accountable to those rocks and those things. So that's for that guy looking to survive. That's a product for him. And I've been able to put that in a way where it's very affordable to that person, right? And so then, and I won't throw pricing out here, but if people want to get a hold of me, they can. And then the guy looking to thrive. I mean, this is that top 10%, the clients that we've worked with over the last couple of years. And those guys usually bring me in one-on-one to work with them in their business. I was with Andy McFarlane, if you know him, right? Yep. So we were in Utah this past weekend, and we spent 3 days with him. We worked with him to implement a structure for his business and the right systems for his business, the right processes. We spent a whole day going through process after process, systematically making sure we're improving it, and then making sure you have the right people in the organization and all that. So I usually, for those guys that are looking to thrive, I usually go on site with them and spend dedicated time with them for 2 to 3 days. And then the guy looking to matter, similar. Coming on site and looking to spend time with them, but the focus is a little different. So the focus from this guy to this guy, the guy that's looking to thrive versus the guy that's looking to matter. That guy that's looking to matter, I'm working more on his exit strategy, how to remove him from the business that other people can, run with it from there. Yeah. And so those are the products I really work with right now. Yeah. I've worked with people that were teachers 18 months ago, and now they're doing 5-15 deals a month, and they're doing well. But if you're looking for, obviously I've done a lot of deals in my day, but if you're looking for a real estate coach, somebody that's going to, guru that's going to get in and teach you how to, that's not me. That's just not right. I think you do some of that, right? You do mentor people, and that stay with you. I don't want to do that. That's not my passion, right? Can I do it? Yeah, but I don't want to, right? That's not my passion. My passion's more around the systems, the processes, the structure. My passion is around treating it like a business, right? So that's where I'm going to be able to help.
So Gary, I do want to just briefly just kind of mention Traction, the book written by Gino Wickman. If you guys haven't read this, I highly recommend it. Some of my favorite books. I love the cash flow quadrant because it really breaks down, kind of obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad, cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Kind of helps you kind of get out of the E&S, the employee and self-employed kind of mindset, and get it over to the kind of business owner and investor side of it. And then obviously I mentioned it earlier, Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth. I highly recommend that too. Well, Gino Wickman wrote a book called Traction, and Gary, you are an EOS implementer that Gino Wickman kind of started all that. A lot of what you talk about, how you incorporate that into, what you teach as well.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I bring to the table. One is I'm a John Maxwell certified coach. I'm a John Maxwell. If you ever read John Maxwell,
love John Maxwell.
Yeah, so I went and got certified with him. So I'm a John Maxwell certified coach. That's where all the leadership and a lot of that comes from. And then obviously I was in corporate America for many years, right? So systems and processes were natural for me. But through that time, I became, very familiar and an expert with Six Sigma, right? So that's where the process mapping and all that kind of comes in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for you, solopreneur entrepreneurs, I mean, Gino Wickman's done a phenomenal job of packaging, really business practices, right? I mean, they go all the way back to Rockefeller in the early 1900s. He's done a phenomenal job making that something that's that you can take and implement in your business. And
Yeah.
and there's a lot of operating systems out there, but I have found that EOS is probably for me, it's been the top one. We implemented in our business. And so I'm an implementer. I can help with that and help get that implemented in your business. And then the last thing, is at the end of the day, I'm also a Think Realty coach. So if anybody follows Think Realty at all, it's they got a magazine and online videos, and I give free online videos there, and I donate my time really to them because it's my way of giving back. So a lot of different ways I can help people. But if you're looking for an operating system, right, and then we're not talking like Podio and stuff. I'm talking about like business systems, like how to run your business, the structure. Then Gino Wickman's Traction book is a must read, absolutely must read. And if you need help with that, and I'll tell people, I think you have to have somebody from the outside looking in sometimes to help.
Totally.
And that's where I come in. If you feel like, hey, I need somebody's help with this, then I can come in and help.
Yeah. Gary, first, I can't thank you enough, man. You dropped some incredible, valuable information for people, really practical stuff that people could start kind of doing right away. And if you get stuck, if you need some help, I can't think of a better person to get in touch with. Gary, tell people before we go how people can get a hold of you, get in touch with you.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that. And there's a couple of ways. One is I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and pretty active on Facebook. So if you want to follow me on any of those, Sharper Business Solutions is the platform, or Gary Harper. I mean, they kind of interchange. I share a lot of content across the two. Instagram, I'm also on Instagram pretty regularly, and Twitter. And so my website is sharperprocess.com. So Sharper Process. And then, obviously you can email me, gharper@sharperprocess as well. And those are probably the best ways to reach me right now.
We'll link all that up in the show notes, so don't feel like you need to break your neck to try to write stuff down right now while you're driving. We will. All that will be in the show notes. Just scroll to the very, very bottom. You can click on the email address and send Gary a quick email, or you can go. I highly recommend you go and follow his Facebook page for sure. I haven't checked out some of your other stuff. Follow the Facebook page and his personal page. Gary, thank you, man. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you too. And Brian, it's been great watching you grow over the last 5 years. You're an inspiration to so many others. I love your heart. I love the fact that you're giving back to help other people. And, you're the real deal. And if you're sitting there listening to this podcast, and maybe you've listened to a couple hundred, around 75 of these now, and you're asking, like, who is this Brian Trippe? Who is he? He's legit. Yeah, he is. He's legit. He's got a heart for people. He loves people. And you guys can learn a lot from him. So I appreciate it. You allowing me to be on the show, Brian.
Gary, thank you so much for those kind words. I really do appreciate that. Guys, go hit that subscribe button. We love you so much. We'll see you next time.